Hello, hello, and welcome to Soulstar Radio. I'm Jacquelene Close-Moore, coming to you from a car park. I'm on my way to Lakes Entrance to appear at a psychic expo down there, a psychic and wellbeing expo for Saturday and Sunday. So I've literally just gotten out of Melbourne. I've got a magpie flying past. It's rather cute. You can't see that, unfortunately. But so it's I'm in a place called Bunyip, which is actually a being in Indigenous culture. So I thought that was kind of appropriate because we literally have Beltane over the last couple of days. We've had also All Saints Day for those who celebrate that literally today if you're in the US and yesterday if you're in Australia. And so it's going to be quite an interesting weekend. I'll be doing live reading demonstration for audiences down at Lakes Entrance and also one-to-one readings at my stand. I'm actually taking some red carpet with me. I don't know, I just felt like having some red carpet. Nothing like a bit of grounding, is there? So I'm going to be taking that along, and I'm going to be taking your calls today. I'm sort of having to do this, one, on my phone, and two, with the other half of my laptop. So it'll be quite entertaining sort of getting through today. What I'd like to talk about, I guess, to start the show off is about trusting your intuition and how that can actually work for you, not just in your emotional life, your social life, your romantic life, but actually how it can help you with things like house buying, house selling. I don't think I actually covered on the show how with the selling of a couple of houses now and then buying new ones, how I've sort of picked that up. And usually I actually pick it up to the dollar. But I'm not sort of necessarily guaranteeing that tonight on the show. But you know, in the case of when we sold our Whittlesea home, we actually sold that in 2 weeks over Christmas, which is just not really heard of. And we sold it for a really quite a high price. And I actually felt that the buyer would want a ridiculously short settlement period and that we would have to be out and finding somewhere, which we hadn't found somewhere else to be yet. We literally got a 22-day settlement, which is kind of hilarious master number there. Given the circumstances, when I was also looking for the next place we would go to, which was in a small country town, which is just what we needed for a couple of years there, I actually got the figure that I felt it would be available for and sold for, even though it was advertised for quite a bit higher. So the exact dollar we got for that. And then when we sold that, I felt it would get sold in 4. I just didn't know if it was weeks or months. And it turned out it was weeks, which in that country town is unheard of because usually properties can be on sale for a year, some of them 3 years, and they just don't sell. And I actually put that particular property up at a certain price. I said, I'll put it up at this price, but I'm going to sell it at that much because the buyer's going to offer this much. So the amount that they offered was $20,000 less than the sale price, which I felt they were going to offer that amount. And I actually contacted the real estate agent. I said, I don't know if it's today's buyer or not, but they're going to offer this much and $10,000. You know, I'd like you to stretch them out to 215 because you can get them to there, but we can't get them to 220 or 230. So I don't want to lose the sale. I'm happy to sell it at that because actually I got it quite a bit cheaper. We fixed it up a little bit. So literally she said, look, they haven't made an offer. They've got an offer on another house. Did you want me to ring them back and say that you would accept this amount? And I said, absolutely, please do that. And so that she rang them back. And they said, we'll think about it. We're just waiting on the building inspector's report on the other place. And so they came back on the Thursday. Oh, yes, we want an inspection on your place. We'll take the builder through to your place because obviously they weren't quite happy with the other one. They'd already kind of made an offer on. And sure enough, she had said how much I would accept. And they offered that number and 10,000, which was, so it was exact digits of what I was saying. The exact price is what they were offering. And I'd already said to her, no, stretch them out to that amount. And so she already knew what my closing amount was and where I could stretch to and where I couldn't. And I said, and by the way, they're going to ask for a 30-day settlement. And I really needed 60 or 90 days because once again, we hadn't sort of done that whole looking for anywhere yet. thing. I mean, I had an eye on the market. I always keep a bit of an eye on the market. It's something in our family has always been around property, so it's sort of a bit of a weird thing I do. So I said, they're going to ask for 30 days. I really want 60. I really want you to try and get the 60. If they don't accept the 60 and they're ready to walk away, call me. I said, because I think they're not going to accept the 60, but I reckon there's something else we can do, but I'm not going to tell you what that is yet. And so sure enough, absolutely has to be 30 days, blah, 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 blah. And so I said, look, make it 45. I know they'll settle on that. And with the proviso that if we can leave earlier, we will. And sure enough, that's what they accepted, 45 days. And then the other place we sort of came across, and I was like, that's the one I want. I actually offered exactly what the bank valued the property at. And the bank valuation is very important with apartments in Australia right now, because apartment lending is really tight and very strict. We've got a royal commission over here at the moment on banking and malpractices, and so it's really not that easy to get finance at the moment, particularly if you're self-employed like myself. So basically, that bank valuation being exactly what I offered was perfect. That got me across the line. Yet the price the property was being put up for was a range that was quite different to that price. And so we were able to get that through. And because of the way everything was going, I needed to settle the other property first and earlier. So we actually ended up settling it on 31 days. So the first property, when we sold Whittlesea and moved to the country, I managed to get us into the new place in 19 days from not having anywhere to go to bang, there it is, 19 days moved in. Kind of nuts, really. A little bit stressful, probably not advised. And the second one, I got us in on 30 days, once again, not having actually selected somewhere yet. So, if you're in a life crisis where you're sort of like, oh, how am I going to deal with this? There is always a way. There's always your intuition which can guide you. And, it's just about trusting that and following through with that. And I think the thing to hone the intuition is to practice on really small things first and to see that you're getting results, because then you're actually in line with your intuition. It's really happening for you. If you're getting those small things right, then you can actually practice on bigger and bigger things. And that's where you can be doing things like I do with, I'm actually literally backing a house on it. Because I literally do this as my job. So if I'm not able to help myself with that, then, why would anyone listen to me for them? So I think that sometimes there's a lot said about whether readers should read for themselves or not. I don't sort of see this as reading for myself. It's simply the guidance that's coming through. And so I'm really listening to and trusting that and going with it. And but if I was to sit there and spread out the cards for myself on this situation or that situation, you're damn straight I'm going to, probably have some influence going on there. But if I'm actually just listening to the messages coming straight through and really listening to that first feeling, it's going to be pretty bang on, because I'm only going to get that impression if I'm needing to get it. So just something for you to think about when you're looking at developing your intuition and using it in your life. Really start with the small stuff first. Make sure you're getting that pretty consistently accurate before you go trying to do things with houses, because, that can be a really big, tough decision. Meanwhile, let's get to, we've got some callers, and thank you everyone for trying to reach out as well. We've got Tammy in Charleston, South Carolina, USA. Are you there, Tammy?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I can hear you now. That's beautiful to have you join me on the show. Now, what I can do is tune into your energy, and how I do that to stop me from copying the energy of everyone in the supermarket, including the people in the cheese aisle. Something about cheese. I usually use a date of birth to do that. Are you happy to give your date of birth? Doesn't have to be a year if you're not comfortable.
Sure, it's fine. My birthday is December 11th, 1984.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Tammy. You're very smart and quick off the mark with things when you're dealing with people, and you usually find the solutions, even and especially when it's quite obscure or abstract or somehow unique and different and not so much usual. So you're able to kind of punch a hole through the the less clear things and get straight to what's sort of important there. And I really feel that practicality in your energy as well, and a tendency to really just get straight onto it. You will, however, get a bit confused with your own emotions and how you want to do stuff. So it's interesting what I was saying about psychics having trouble reading for themselves, because I think I'm talking to you. So it's sort of at times, I think the thing is that you're so very clear for everyone else that it can get a bit confusing when it's for yourself. And I think when that's happening, it's really good for you to just take yourself back to your heart chakra, which sounds a bit cliche to say the very least, but it's not.
I guess that was going to be one of my questions for you, because I feel like I can read stuff like
yes, you can. Absolutely, without question.
I can. Okay, so I thought sometimes I started to think I was crazy because I could feel things before they happen, or I know things before they happen, and I dream things a lot, and it's gotten a lot stronger since I was about 30, and I just was feeling kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, well, you're going to look. Put it this way: if you are sane, you will feel that you're crazy picking this stuff up. Frankly, when you're first getting into it, so welcome to the club. It's okay. The thing to do is to always measure up and say, all right, is what I'm seeing actually turning out to happen in real life events? Tick, fabulous. That's happening because you've got that. Are people relating to and understanding what I'm saying and feeling that it's correct and relevant? Well, I feel that sometimes your indication of that is how annoyed they get.
Yes, they do get annoyed. Very annoyed.
My dear, all you've got to do is learn a bit of finesse. And finesse is really learning how to tell people the truth without making them want to kill you. That takes a bit of work. I've got to tell you, I've really copped that sometimes. Jacquelene, naughty. It's like
or learn just when not to tell people, maybe.
Oh, yes, indeed. You've got to be so careful. You've got to have permission. And if you don't have permission, there are really cheeky ways to let someone know something without them knowing that you know it. And so this is where a bit of, in Tai Chi, we'd probably be talking about cloud hands, where are those hands going and what did they do? So what it is you might say, I was just thinking about blah, blah, that is going on in their life because you're picking it up, but you're not saying that. I was just thinking about this situation when this happens to people, and I had this person the other day and I felt this and this and this about them, and they were telling me about it and I was really worried. I felt like this and this might solve that. What do you reckon? And they're going to sit there going, oh, okay, because they'll be going through that, and then they can then sort of decide that it isn't about them, but they will be able to still hear the message, and it's a really cool way to keep yourself nice and safe. Because I actually spent time as a youngster in a town of 850 people, and there was lots of cows, and some of them went to school with me, but. So, being psychic was a little bit dangerous, I've got to say, especially around farm equipment and people with sort of funny ideas about that, so keeping safe is actually important, and we shouldn't have to come out of the broom closet until we're ready, if you know what I mean. So it's really about,
my grandmother was recently talking to me about it, because I went to her and I was like, Grandma, I know this came from somewhere. Have you experienced these things? And she told me that yes, she had, but she had told me the same thing, that she had to learn that you don't talk about it with people, and it was something that was special and a gift, but that it was just that, a gift, and
it's a gift you can use. That's the thing to understand. I actually spent time in my teens and very early 20s feeling quite shamed and guilty, being told by priests that I should seek forgiveness. And it's interesting because some of those priests are now in jail, and one of them in particular that I actually met, and when he actually put his hand in front of me with a ring on it, And I actually looked at the ring and I looked at the hand, and I didn't understand I should kiss the ring because that just looked really dirty to me and I didn't want to go anywhere near that. And I just went, and I just lifted my hand and I shook his hand and he went, like this. And he didn't actually say a word to me. They thought I was possessed or something, possibly. But, there's been the need to, I guess, choose our audience wisely. And this is why it's great talking to someone like me, talking to people that you meet that are open to this. And, there are psychic development groups around. You just have to find them. And, some of the groups around America, you've got your spiritualist groups, you've got various different types of meditation groups. And I think it's really important for you to sort of, get into that. There's a lot of healing that comes from your heart that goes out to people, and I think the thing is that, in amongst those questions I was saying to ask, does this make sense? Does it come out in real events? And is it helpful? Is this helpful and positive? Because it's really important that people, when they're working with this stuff, come from an essence of humility and wanting to help people and help empower people to be their best self. And I can just feel that running through your veins, and pumping through that beautiful heart of yours. And I'd really love to see you doing things like Reiki training and stuff like that because, 2018, guess what? It's your 7 year. And 7 is that very mystical number that deals with, it's a chariot card in the tarot, which in the Kabbalah tree of life links to what in English means fence. And certainly you've been having a lot of boundary issues with people this year, but it's also the spiritual, mystical number as well. So there is this reaching into the other side going on.
It's my favorite number. Yeah.
Hello, right? So this year's your 7 year, and I just feel as if you're going to find that you open more and more over the next couple of years, and I really kind of want you to pursue it. Don't let that sort of fall aside because I think this is part of your being. Some people want to become a psychic and other people simply are. And everyone has intuitive ability. It's just whether we feel ready to go there and learn to trust spirit. And I think learning to trust spirit, well, you're going to want a lot of proof because you're a proof lady. You're all about proof. It's got to be real, And I can relate to that. But it's also about sometimes getting the proof and going, yeah, that happened. And I think this is in your case why, and many people's cases that might be listening, journaling is really helpful because what it does is it lets you know that did really happen. You've written it down on paper. It exists now. It can't be denied. And that's the sort of thing I'd really encourage you to use as well.
Yeah. I think it backs me away, I don't necessarily know if, it's bad stuff, but I just know that, it scares me. I've lived in different houses where I felt and saw things, and, I'd be terrified. I'd be underneath my bed and, afraid to tell anybody because if I told someone, I felt like somebody was going to think, I'm losing my mind. But I saw these things, and, they're
real. They're real. Yeah. No, a lot of the things you're seeing are real. Some of them are fear-related and are imagination. But the thing I was saying about the priest before, what got me going on this journey in amongst a few pushes was I actually stayed with some nuns because I had problems with my children not sleeping. And, of course, part of that was because they were getting woken up at night by beings coming into their room. I would literally see them coming into their room and say, look, the kid's only 6 months old. He can't work with you yet, just give him a break. So it was the nuns that said, you have a gift and God doesn't make mistakes. God chooses who the gift is given to, in what way and how. And so because you have this gift, you actually have an obligation to use it. That's what was said to me. I don't want to put the word obligation onto what you're doing, but I just want you to feel safe to explore it.
I feel it. In my heart, I feel that.
Yeah, this is why I really, any Reiki groups, any meditation groups, any sort of spiritual groups, choose and pick them carefully. Go with your feeling on where you feel drawn to, and then you'll be led along the right journey anyway. And the different houses you're feeling things in, yes, they're impressions and imprints of past experience. Sometimes there can be spirits hanging around houses, and other times it's simply a memory. I can walk into a memorial hall and I can see the history of that hall in front of me. I can see the dances from the 50s. I can see when it was a movie theatre.
Yeah.
I can see the boy running up and down the stairs. And I'm like, and I've actually been sitting there and I had a heater above me as I was doing a reading for a lady, and I talked about her love life cooling down, and the heater literally went poof and it went off. And as I started talking about things to do in the relationship, and I said, and then I believe that will switch the warmth of your relationship back up, boom, the heater went back on. And I'm like, it was the only heater in the whole hall that did that. But this was actually the theatre with the movies and the ballroom dancing and the 50s dances with the swing dresses. And I'm just watching that while doing readings all day going, well, this is exciting. It's why I like when I'm doing readings at a stand, I like to not have a gallery above, because half the time when people have been walking up and down a gallery in a open exhibition area, they've been walking the upstairs area where they can look down. I'm actually seeing them doing that, even though they're not currently there. So I'll be seeing spirits, other times I'm seeing impressions, and I believe that's what's happening to you, which is why I'm explaining it. I believe there's a lot that you can do with your energy. Yeah.
I'm so glad, because I was wondering what I was seeing. I have a question for you. If you can see into it, maybe
Please.
it would give me a little peace. My father passed away in 1997, and it was an automobile hit and run, supposedly, but none of us ever felt really comfortable with it, and there were a lot of stuff that were around the case. Was it in fact an accident? Can you see anything or feel anything on that? I've never been able to, and I think maybe it's because I'm...
Yeah, what I'm getting with that is I feel like it's nighttime, and I'm getting a lot of glowing going on that I'm trying to understand. Was that at nighttime? Are you aware of that?
It was at nighttime.
Yeah, I'm seeing an orange glowing, and that to me, it could look like a fire. It could look like, I'm just not sure whether that could be some kind of flashing light.
The gentleman who hit him actually set his vehicle on fire.
Hello, right. Now I understand, because I'm seeing the fire.
He hit his car. That's why, none of us really understood. He went home and he set his vehicle on fire to hide the evidence, but someone told on him, and that's how we found him. He's now deceased
because we're running out of time, I'm just going to relay what I'm getting. I don't feel that it was initially on purpose. What's happened after it is on purpose, which is why it's confusing for you. It's why you get mixed intentions and messages about it. So we're running down in time as I'm speaking. You can connect to me on Facebook on Soulstar Radio with Jacquelene. You can send him a private message in case we get cut off. But I just feel it's not intentional going into it. It's not intentional going into it. It's what's happened after it that's completely intentional. So it is trying to hide what's happened. That's the intentional part of it. That's why you're confused.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to add you. I'm very thankful for you calling me.
Your dad absolutely loves you, and he wants you to know that he's very proud of everything you're doing and the wisdom you're holding and the calmness you have in situations that sometimes have been dire, and he just wants you to know he's with you.